best things that ever happened. I could have just blended in and fit into the crowd and just done whatever, to get by. But before we started school here, my family moved here. My folks checked out the school district. They checked out the athletic program, and I was the younger brother of a great athlete. So what was easy for me where we lived was just to live in my brother's shadow. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but it was actually pretty easy pickings. Any problems, my brother just beat the hell out of people. Anywhere I needed to go, I was just little Glow. I didn't have to be Glow. But coming to Concord was something that my parents first scoped out, actually meeting Mr. Clark, and they said, listen, this is a great athletic director. Sports are really big in my house. And then stepping onto the football field, Coach Al Robichaud and Dickie Damari really kind of brought me into the fold. The first game that I played was a loss. It was a tough loss, and the newspaper read that a well-tanned Brad Glowacki had nervous feet. So I was pissed. And I wanted to know who Phil Gibson was. And you know the alphabet, GL and GI are right next to each other. In a locker next to me, as luck would have it. So I am explaining to Phil I didn't care for his article with both hands up his shirt and his head against a locker. Said, you write another article like that again, I'm going to stuff you in this locker. And Gibson, to this day, was one of my favorite quotes. He said, my pen is mightier than your sword. What the hell does that mean? And I wish I was kidding, it's a true story. And to this day, Phil's one of my very best friends, because I didn't want to write more articles about me, honestly. But I played football, and Jay Lamb was the other quarterback. I just played golf with him today, one of my best friends. The community really took me in, and the athleticism was part of it, but it took my whole family in. And I played lacrosse in that spring, and it was kind of a coin toss, to be honest with you, if I was going to play baseball or lacrosse, and all my football buddies played lacrosse. So I just said, I'm going to try it. And the lesson there was that I just wanted to make it to Friday. And the reason Friday was so important is because cuts were on Thursday night. And the true story was, and the lesson for my children in the audience was my goals were too low. And really all I wanted to do was make the team and be a part of something bigger. That was my true goal. And when my dad sat me down one night and said, listen, your expectations are too low. You need to expect more of yourself. Pick it up. That was step one. And Coach Kerr, step two, said, the question isn't if you're going to make the team. The question is if you're going to lead the team. And it really put me on a different path. I think what's so important about the Hall of Fame is, I think the coaches. I really am honored to be here tonight. I want to thank my dad for constant, never-ending support. My parents took me to places at ungodly hours, as many of the athletes did. So formally, I would just like to thank my mom and dad for that. My wife, I always give her credit for supporting me. The truth is, she leads me. She makes me better. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. But my lessons here, I think, really came from the coaches, and that it still affects my life today. And when Coach Kerr said that, it lit me up, and I was ready to go. And my confidence was through the roof, and it carries me to this day. So one of my most proud statistics is that my senior year, I had more assists than goals. I could score whenever I wanted, and I knew that. My confidence was through the roof. But I wanted my teammates involved. And as much as they took me in and made me a friend, I wanted to put them in the highlight reels. I wanted to put them in the newspaper. I could score whenever we needed it. I needed my teammates to have fun too, who are my friends to this day. So in about a short 18-month time period, I made friends for life. And I think a lot of that was the community. It's what Brent Clark started at the top, what the coaches did every day in practice, what we did on the weekends. Guys like Jay Lamb, Derek Rizzo, Andy Enright, Phil Gibson, they could have just been a blip on the screen, but really became a better part of my life. I went on to play Division I lacrosse at the University of Delaware, and when I was getting ready to go to Delaware, I would come back and practice here in the summer, and this guy with a crickety knee and a knee brace on used to carve me up behind the woodshed, basically, at CCHS High School, and that was Ricky Mullins. I'm lucky because I didn't know how good he was. It just pissed me off that he had a knee brace and he was beating me up so bad. But it actually got me ready to go to Delaware. So when I heard he was going to be here this weekend, I said, he is the world's nicest guy. But again, that community feel. And when I got to Delaware, I led, the conference in scoring a couple different years. And it just, that became the theme for what I did. But in all of that, What I would summarize it with is I had a couple of injuries throughout high school, and Coach Al Robichaud sent me to his son, Jeff Robichaud. And one of the best things ever was that I became a chiropractor as a result of the Robichaud family. I mean, they are phenomenal people in this community. The things they did for me back then, what they did for my parents, the house calls, checking in to make sure things were okay. It went a million miles. I didn't realize it, but for my mom and dad, we really became a part of this community, and my little brother and sister, and then I became Big Glow. And to me, that meant everything, because I wasn't living in somebody else's shadows. I got to be my own person. So being here this weekend really, it means a lot to me. Some mixed emotions, only because I was here a short amount of time. But I think part of what being in the Hall of Fame does is it gives you this immortality. And as my nieces and nephews walk the halls of CCHS, and Nick and Aaron have their sons and daughter there, what's really cool is that I'll be a part of something much bigger, as much as you've made me and my family a part of this community. And to my 4 children who made the trip out, Georgia, Luke, Sailor, and Hero, can you guys give me a wave real quick? Best looking kids. I just want to tell you, you can do anything. And I've been kicked off some teams as a coach in California because they're a little bit more laid back. One coach, I told him I would stuff him in the trunk of his car. They didn't appreciate that. But what really made me angry is he told my son what he couldn't do and what he wasn't allowed to do. And I said, my pen is muddier than your soul. So I would like to conclude with this. I'm a chiropractor in Southern California, and it is all because of Jeff Robichaud and what's happened in this community. In my practice in Southern California, we have Stanley Cup winners, we have Hall of Fame baseball players, we have players currently in the postseason right now. It's a who's who in the sporting world. It's become a part of my DNA and everything that I do, and it's just that humble approach that I kind of took in every endeavor in my life. It's that quiet confidence that Dickie Kerr gave me. And if I could single out one person, really, it would be Coach Kerr. Every step of the way, every big game, the ball went to me, key plays were drawn around me, and I never forget that. I think what was important coming into this weekend was watching some of the highlights and looking at what was going on. That confidence still brews within me. I can do anything. My children can do anything. And for CCHS giving me that gift, it's something I could never repay. So I would just like to say an honest and sincere thank you to my mom and dad, to my beautiful wife Jessica, to Brent Clark, to Dick Damari, Coach Al Robichaud, Coach Kerr. My 4 children are the legacy that you leave, and I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.